Hi team. I'm back. I'm terribly sorry for the absence, and I will explain all of that in just a moment's time. But for now, hello and welcome back to the Quarter Life Crisis Club. I went MIA for a hot minute there. I did in fact disappear. And the irony of it is not lost on me that I set a club up about experiencing quarter life crisis and how to work through your quarter life crisis. And then I feel as though my second wave hit and I drowned. I absolutely disappeared. So for that, I can only apologise. But I am back and ready and raring to go to chat with you guys and work through this together. So do please forgive me. So this is an honest catch up. We're going to have a coffee, sit together and have a bit of a chat today. I'll explain where I've been and where we're going. So this is a little bit different today, and hopefully as of next week, we'll sit and have a coffee once a week, and I will selfishly info dump research that I do on human nature and anthropology and sociology and all of that, because I find it really interesting and my friends and family don't want to listen to me anymore, which is absolutely valid. I do appreciate that. So to take it back a minute, and to be completely honest with you, I had a wobble at around Christmas and the New Year. And I feel that that's quite common for a lot of people. Christmas is quite stressful. I know the holiday period can be very overwhelming. And I have always been overwhelmed by Christmas, to be completely honest. And the New Year, the middle of winter, it's pitch black, it's fucking pouring with rain, it's bloody miserable. And you're supposed to have this sense of energy and self and renewal and let's go and get it, which a lot of people, do not have when it's dark at 3:30 and you've eaten so much you feel horrendous and you've socialised through the roof and people and everything. It's just been a lot, and then it all comes crashing down in January and you're supposed to be ready and raring to go, and it's not the one, is it? So I had a bit of a wobble in January, and it's funny because I feel like I was getting to a good point of sitting there, who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to look, my life to look like, my priorities, my people, all of that was really starting to click into place. And it was, and it still is. And to be honest with you, I haven't sat down and really had a think and a feel about what triggered this wobble or anything. I think it might have just been that I was so overwhelmed with work and so overwhelmed with sort of the festive period that I just had a bit of a wobble, which sucked, unfortunately. But good things did come out of it. For obvious reasons, I didn't feel like coming on and sitting and having a chat with you. Whilst I was going through all of that, I felt like an absolute fraud to try and sit down and have conversations about identity and self, and not self-improvement necessarily, because I don't. I think that space is quite oversaturated and wanky, and I'm never going to be the one to tell you how to live your life better. But I felt like a fraud coming in and sitting down and trying to work through a lot of this. And to be completely honest, I think it just felt a little bit too vulnerable, even though the overarching theme of this is to sit and be vulnerable with you guys to sort of for us to all work through it together so that we know that we're not alone. It felt too vulnerable to do in that headspace. But big but there, I am going to try and stay consistent with doing this. The irony of it is I should know of all people, I sat and researched, a quarter life crisis, and apparently from your first sort of meltdown, it takes 2 years to work through completely. So I have no idea who gave me the idea to set up a podcast 6 months after I had my first wobble, thinking I had it all figured out, because fuck me, I hadn't got a clue. So that's probably why we had a bit of a mentee bee. But again, and it's funny because like I've wobbled, but I'm actually back in the same place of like work, of like who I want to be and where I want to go. It isn't that it's not dissimilar at all from what I wanted to do. I just had a bit of a wobble in the middle. So maybe that was my brain rewiring in some way. But yeah, and going around Christmas, I feel like the world, I mean, and I say this, it's May 15th at the day of recording. So the world is still very heavy at the minute. You've only got to turn the news on and sort of look through the headlines to know that it's heavy. I feel like the world is very heavy and has been very heavy for the last few years. Maybe that's only because it's what I've personally been aware of, sort of culturally, but it does feel very heavy. The current affairs, the noise, social media, like everything just got very, very overwhelming. And running the business obviously is always a massive time. So trying to scale and grow this business that I have such a passion for, that I care about so much, again, is a very vulnerable thing to do, to put yourself out there like that. And obviously you're going to get knocked about a little bit in that process. But I think that was feeling quite heavy and a quite, not directionless, I won't say, but I think that just felt quite heavy and quite tough at that point as well. So yeah, I felt like a complete fraud trying to have conversations on identity when mine was wobbling. And I sure as shit couldn't have come on and actually articulated any of this back then, but I can barely articulate it now. The other exciting thing, maybe to come of the wobble, as we'll dub it, which if you know me in person will potentially come as no surprise, that I got my neurodiversity diagnosis as well at the end of February, at the beginning of March, and that's been a long time coming. To be honest with you, that's not something that, like, I know a lot of people get diagnosed out of left field. It isn't something that was a particular shock to me or my family. I told people, I was like, oh yeah, it's official. And they were like, yeah. Like, not in a bad way or anything. Like, they weren't dismissive of it. Like, they've always loved all parts of my brain anyway, but it just made me chuckle that it didn't change anything for them. I was still the same person. It was just like, oh yeah, like, this is just the reason that you're like this. It's not a problem at all. The only thing it did for me obviously was recontextualize a lot of my life, I think, and it took the pressure off the knowing. It's difficult to try and articulate. It just gave me a sense of it's okay. And the things that I really do struggle with, there's a reason, I'm not broken. It's not a problem. It just is what it is, and we get on with it. And I know obviously a formal diagnosis can be a massive pro or con for some people. Like, people sit in either camp, and I know that not everyone chooses to get formally diagnosed. That's absolutely fine. It did feel like a necessity for me though at that point of the beginning of this year. I think it was something that we decided needed to happen. But yeah, so it's just giving me sort of permission to take the pressure off a little bit, which if you know me, is not something that I take lightly or do very often. So yeah, that's been interesting to sort of recontextualize and reframe my brain in the way that I live, and reframe how I think and feel. And just give myself permission and space to be a little bit more, to be completely honest with you, which is nice. So we're still working through that, and that will be a work in progress. God, for as long as I live, to be honest with you. I don't think that'll ever be something that we like tick done next. But yeah, and I'm not going to go I'm not going to go into specifics today. Maybe I can chat to you guys about that if you ever want to down the line. But yeah, I think that's another reason that I just didn't feel up to talking to you guys January, February time, was because my sense of identity and my sense of self was shifting so much, and it was kind of like wibbling or like round the edges, and I didn't feel like I could come and sit and have these conversations with you, which is a massive shame, but we've gotten through it and we're back, and I will try and do it now. And it's funny because, again, as I said, so much research is being done into the psychology of early adulthood, and that 18, you're not an adult, your cerebral cortex is still developing, your frontal lobe is still developing, there's so much of your brain that is still being rewired and reprogrammed in your early 20s, your late 20s, and even your early 30s, like your brain solidifying takes a very long time. So I don't know why I was surprised in any way, shape, or form that I had another trip and I had another, oh God, like, is this right? Where am I going? Is this what I want? Who do I want to be? And how to navigate that in and amongst all the noise of people telling you what you should be doing, how you should be thinking, and how you should be feeling. That just all felt very loud and very overwhelming. I say Jeffrey Arnott is a leading pioneer, and we'll get more into his work in the next few episodes, I'm sure. But basically saying, that feeling unsettled in your late 20s is completely fucking normal, because your brain is still, you're not a person yet. We're not grown-ups, we're not adults. And I don't know who told us. I don't know who led us to believe that we were supposed to be grown-ups at this point. But yeah, it's not, the main takeaway for me of that was quite self-soothing and quite self-settling, was it's completely normal to question these things repeatedly and to come back and to not spiral, but to circle, to think that you've answered something and to think that you've worked through something, to then feel like you're facing it again. I felt like I'd had taken a couple of steps back and was quite confused and frustrated with myself. I was like, oh God, I thought we'd worked through this. Like I thought we'd nailed this. I thought we knew. But actually it's completely normal to come back to the same point time and time again, to reanalyze and relook at your life through the same lens. It's completely normal. It's exhausting, but it's completely normal. And the other thing that we've got to consider as well is that the identity reformation that we're going through at the minute, the trauma, big life events, diagnoses, cultural events, all of that can trigger and shift your sense of self, your sense of identity. There's so much external stuff that goes into your internal feelings of identity, and that shouldn't be dismissed at all. Should not be dismissed at all. It's interesting. I saw something the other day, again, we'll get into this, but obviously culturally, how if you look at high-end fashion at the minute, it's all fresh fruit and veg, because that's what's becoming unattainable for people, which is so bleak. But also that Gen Z are the way that we communicate that we are doing well, our metric of success apparently, and I'll share more research on this, is art and collectibles and things like that, because our currency, if you like, is connection, and it's artistic, and it's an understanding, and our sense of self and our currency that we trade with people as we go through life is becoming a much more abstract concept, whereas our parents, they were much more materialistic outcomes, house, kids, cars, jobs, that kind of thing. Some of those are so unobtainable for people in our position now, that being able to have conversation and your sense of self, your sense of identity is what is becoming the metric of success that you push forward, which is wild, absolutely insane. But yeah, I'll do more on that, because I think that's so interesting. But yeah, main takeaway, it's okay to spiral and or circle around certain things that you thought you had worked through. Note to self. And just to tell you, just to sit and chat really and say that the club is back. And it might look slightly different now. I don't think it will, to be honest with you. I don't think it will look any different. But the aim of the game, I think I'm going to try and sit and have a coffee with you guys once a week and look at social concepts and things about identity, internal, external, things that just help us work through these quarter life crisis. We'd sit and just chat about things that are going to help us work through our quarter life crisis together. And you never know, you could be witnessing mine in real time, unfortunately. So yeah, the most gutting thing is that before I had this wobble, I had a Notion doc of everything. Social plans, episodes, scripts, like the works. Like I'd put graft into this, and I came to sit down and do it and I just couldn't. So I'll have to rework a lot of that. Hopefully some of it can still stand. Hopefully, because that would be such a shame. But yeah, I'll leave you to it for this week. It was literally just popping in to say hi, really, and give you a bit of an explanation as to why I disappeared, which is very on brand, unfortunately. No promises that I won't do it again in the future, but hopefully keep me accountable. I'll meet you most Tuesday mornings, I'm thinking Tuesday mornings for a cup of coffee, and we can chat all things quarter life crisis. So I will see you next week too. Bye.